welcome back from that break. This is still the AM Club coming to you live from the MX24 studios, Oleander Street, East Legon, Accra, Ghana. My name is Miriam Uduak-Mensah, and we're about to get into a big conversation. This is still the AM Club, but this is the Lifestyle Daily segment of the show. Before we get into our big conversation, which is a very, very big conversation, I want to recommend drinking water and minding your business. I'm telling you, this year, 2026, Charlie, whilst the cup of water is or the bottle of water is on your lips, you will not be thinking about someone else. Just drink water and mind your business. Now, with Jibu Water, staying refreshed has never been easier. Jibu Water provides clean, healthy water you can trust as your source as your go-to source for drinking and cooking. Now, with options of our innovative 20-liter bottles that come with a tap and 18.9-liter bottles, your dispensers will have a breath of new life as our clean and hygienic Jibu Water flows through them for your consumption. Now, whether you need a cool drink to quench your thirst or fresh cooking water to make your meals taste its best, Jibu Water is the answer to your clean water needs. Order for yours now today by calling us on 020-9845-817 or visit our website at www.jibuco.com/gh for more information about our brand. Jibu Water, a better life. Now, that money you're working so hard to earn deserves the safest home. With Telecel, you're protected every step of the way. No risk, no worries, no long stories, just peace of mind. So dial *110# or download the Telecel Play app now for safe, secure transactions. Telecel Cash, the safer choice. Send the keke with no stress, no worry. Now, for our big conversation this morning, it's Thursday, so we're definitely getting into health and wellness, and we're discussing World Cancer Day, which was yesterday, the 4th of February. Well, we'll be getting into this conversation, and joining me for the conversation this morning is Dr. Esther Yesuto Agbozu, Aya Medical Consult. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are we doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I've not seen you this year yet, so it's a happy new year.
Yeah.
It's really good to see you. You're growing
see you
backwards.
too.
I like.
Oh, that's nice. Thank
Whatever
you.
you're doing, please, I beg.
I
God,
should
I
continue.
beg. This year, you have to teach me. So I can, first of all, do I have to go and cut my hair first?
Oh, you don't have to cut your hair.
I don't. Because me, that one is easy for me. It's the easiest thing. Cutting my hair. Easiest thing. Easiest. I can just go out and change my mind.
Then you're like me. I also like cutting my hair. Sometimes I braid, sometimes I just go and cut it.
My family is on my life. That's why you are seeing long hair. But as for cutting my hair, it's my forte. Anyway, so we're discussing World Cancer Day, which was yesterday.
Right.
We want to also highlight that it's a very important conversation, and the month of February has been, the 4th of February has been dedicated as a day to create that awareness. But let's talk about the illness itself.
Right.
You know, what are the initial signs, warnings that indicate that someone is about to have cancer or they have cancer?
Right. So when you look at the word cancer itself, cancer is just a generic term that we use to describe an abnormal growth of tissue. Right. So God in his wisdom has designed our bodies to, replicate the cells as we go on. And then some of the cells are timed to die at particular points in time. We call it apoptosis. So once apoptosis happens, the new cells come up. Now, sometimes this process is messed up due to either genetic factors or environmental factors, such that now you have an abnormal growth of the cells. So you have excess cells. Okay. So it means you end up having excess tissue. So for instance, one of the first signs that people may see may be a swelling or maybe a lump somewhere, because it means you have excess cells or tissues being produced by the body, and those cells are not dying as they have been programmed to. Right, so the first thing someone may notice maybe a swelling somewhere. If it's for the women, maybe a lump in their breast. For the men, maybe if it's testicular cancer, maybe a lump in their testes or something. That may be one of the first signs that people may see. Okay. Right, now when you look at... It
does not also mean that it has advanced, or those are the initial... Does it show immediately your tissues become cancerous, or it has to get to a certain stage to be able to see?
Sometimes it would get to a certain stage before you may notice. Especially if you are not someone who is very conscious about self-examination. So for the women, we are always making a lot of noise about breast examination. If you don't examine, you may not notice that there is a lump in your breast. So you may go on for a while. Then when the late symptoms come, and the disease is advancing, that's maybe when you begin to see your symptoms. Right? So there are some symptoms that we call constitutional symptoms. Those ones are not specific to any cancer. Yeah. Any form of cancer can cause those symptoms.
Like...
So, for instance, some people may begin to have weight loss. The reason is that a lot of the cancer cells tend to feed on the nutrients that the body is supposed to get. So the person may be losing weight even though they are eating, right? Some people may even have loss of appetite. Some people may begin to notice that every day they are sick. Somebody will have headache all the time, dizziness all the time. Now, cancer cells tend to take advantage of a lot of the blood in the body, right? So if your cancer cells are feeding on your blood, you have low blood levels, what we call anemia. Then some people begin to have headache, dizziness. Some people feel that their heart is always beating fast. So you may have those symptoms, but they are not specific. Now, again, these symptoms can be symptoms for other diseases as well.
So you need to check.
So you need to have it checked out before. So usually what may tell you that it's most likely cancer is if you notice maybe a lump somewhere or an abnormal growth somewhere, and you notice that maybe you are losing excessive weight, right? Then you would have to have it checked out before you can even tell that it's cancer.
It's cancer. Now, how much, of cancer risk is influenced by lifestyle versus genetics?
Right. So when you take genetics are very important. However, it is not automatic. Somebody can have a genetic predisposition to having cancer, and yet they may not end up having the cancer because they did maybe some lifestyle changes, right? So for instance, maybe in some families, they have a risk of developing maybe lung cancer. Now, if you have a risk of lung cancer in your family, it doesn't mean automatically that you're going to have lung cancer. If you are somebody who decides to now smoke, so you just increase the risk because you already have a family history of lung cancer and you are smoking, so you increase your risk, right? Somebody may have a family history of, say, breast cancer. Now, for somebody with that family history, if you are somebody who is eating poorly, no exercise, and you end up with obesity, you increase your risk of developing the breast cancer. So even though your family history is important, it is not automatic that once it's in your family, you're also going to have the disease. It depends on your lifestyle. So lifestyle is very important. Even our exposure to chemicals, radiation. Someone who comes to the hospital, every time they come, they want us to do an x-ray for them. So constantly they're exposed to radiation, right? So even now in Ghana, we talk a lot about galamsey. So our exposure to these chemicals, right? So somebody in their line of work, they may be exposed to certain chemicals, which will predispose them to having the cancer. Yeah.
Now, which cancers are most preventable, and how can people lower their risk?
Right. I think the one I would say is most preventable would be lung cancer. The reason is that when you look at the risk factors for lung cancer, we talk a lot about air pollution, right? We talk a lot about smoking, right? Now, a lot of people may not even have a lot of family history for lung cancer. It's usually environmental. So if you take somebody who decides that, okay, I'm not going to smoke, I'm going to, and even with the smoking, we have what we call secondary smokers. Some of us end up being secondary smokers. You are not smoking yourself, but you're in an environment where they are smoking. So you end up inhaling the smoke too. You might as well just smoke, right? So yes, because
point, since you decide to sit with smokers, just go and smoke.
You might as well just smoke because your risk is even higher than the person actually smoking because they are bringing it out and you are taking it in. So if you're a secondary smoker, it's better you even go ahead and smoke.
Carry a cigarette and smoke at this point.
So you have to protect yourself so that you're not exposed to the smoke, right? And some people in their lines of work may be exposed to a lot of dust, a lot of silica and all that. If you're able to protect yourself from some of these things, you should be able to reduce your risk of the lung cancer.
Okay, so that's the most preventable. Breast cancer for the women, how is not easily preventable?
Breast cancer is not easily preventable because of the family history or the genetic composition.
You are not able to play any pivotal role in making sure.
Yes, some people will do everything right and still get breast cancer because there are some particular genes that some people inherit. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do to change your genetic makeup. So if you inherit that particular gene, even if you live your life well and everything, you may still get breast cancer. The only thing that will be different for such people is maybe because they are doing things right, they may be examining themselves. So if there is an abnormality, they'll pick it up early. And then get treatment for it.
Okay, but at what age do you start the screenings and the tests just to make sure? Because you're saying that some people's because of their genetical,
predisposition,
predisposition, they might as well just sit and wait. But whilst you're at that, at what age do you start, screening and making sure that even though I am at risk of getting cancer, I at least know it early?
Right. So if we take something, so most of the cancers something like breast cancer, for instance. Once you have breast tissue, so once a young girl begins to develop breasts, at least you should be screening every year for breast cancer, because there's breast tissue there, right? So that if there's anything, we pick it up early. Now, the other cancers, something like cervical cancer, which we spoke a lot about last month. If we take cervical cancer, for instance, once anybody, now WHO says that once the girls are hitting the teenage years, we should vaccinate them, right? Once anybody becomes sexually active as well, they should begin to screen for cervical cancer, regardless of their age. So even if the person is 15 or 13, 16, and they've begun, indulging in sexual activity, they should begin screening for cervical cancer as well. Because a lot of the time, from last month, we would have learned that a lot of the symptoms are very quiet. You can have the infection, it will be there, you have no idea. Then 10 years later, you have cervical cancer, right? And so it's important that for the specific cancers, if you know what you are looking for instance, if it's testicular cancer we are talking about, once a man is advancing, so some of the cancers to develop with age. So something like testicular cancer, we are looking at advancing age. So once you're advancing as a man, once in a while, you should be examining your testes to see, is there anything unusual there? So I usually tell people, know what your normal is, so that you can know what your abnormal is.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't examine their bodies, so they don't even know what their normal is. So if anything changes, they don't know that something has changed, right? So it's important that you know what your normal is. And then every year, I usually encourage that, at least for the very delicate organs like the breast, the testes, those that we can easily pick up the lumps, try to examine at least once every 3 months. See, has anything changed? Is there anything new I'm noticing? If you notice anything new and it's worrying you, just come to the hospital.
Yeah. Now, still talking about World Cancer Day, which happened on the 4th of February, we're talking what the breast cancer, what the cancer disease looks like. But over the years, I believe technology has helped in different areas. Have we also seen any improvements in the cancer medications and treatments, and what are they?
Yes. I think now cancer diagnosis, depending on when we diagnose it, usually when people hear cancer, they think it's like a death sentence. Depending on when we diagnose cancer now, it may not be a death sentence. Some people, if it's detected early and treated early, they can actually have good life expectancy, right, compared to the rest of us. So it's important that we understand that now we are in an age where we have surgeons available for surgeries for every type of cancer. We have a lot of chemotherapy, medications, options available. Now we have what we call even hormonal therapy for breast cancer. We have targeted therapy for breast cancer and even some of the other cancers. So now we've advanced so much that there are a lot of options. The unfortunate thing is a lot of people, their cancers are diagnosed when it is late. When the cancer begins to spread beyond the organ where it's originated from, we call it metastasis. Once metastasis sets in, there is usually very little we can do. Even if we go and, for instance, it's the breast, we go and take out the breast. What about the one that has moved already to the lung? What about the one that has moved to the liver? We can't go and remove your lung. We can't go and remove your liver. So now we are stuck. So we may decide to do chemo and hope that it would kill those cancer cells. We may decide to do maybe radiation therapy and hope that it will take care of it. But in the end, you'd see that those people would have what we call more morbidity. They would have more side effects because now your liver is going to suffer. Your lungs are going to suffer. Even your bones are going to, the entire body is going to suffer. So if cancer is detected early and treated early, now it helps, yes. Now there's a lot of help available for cancers, yeah.
Now, whilst we're talking about as human as we are, we know that there are going to be myths flying all around with breast cancer. Some time back, we're told that, to be able to reduce breast cancer, you have to let all these little boys be pressing your breast. And then we rule out that myth. Some of these myths also hinder people from finding the actual knowledge about the disease or the condition. So let's talk about the myths surrounding surrounding cancer and what the truths are.
Right. So when sometimes conversations about cancer, like I said, some people usually, especially in our part of the world, once some people hear cancer, they begin to think that the person maybe did something wrong or it is the person's fault. Like we've said, some people, just because of the families that they are born into, they may be predisposed to having a particular cancer. And there is really not much they can do about it, right? Some people also think that once you have cancer, it's a hopeless situation, which is not. Because when people come to the hospital, you tell them that, oh, we found this particular cancer. Most of them will prefer to go and pray because they think it's spiritual, right? They think their house teachers have followed them to wherever, right? So they would want to go and pray and think that it's all spiritual. Sometimes it may just be physical issues, right? So it's important that we begin to change our mindset about everything. Not everything should be spiritual. We are not saying don't pray. If you want to pray, no
Life
problem.
is spiritual, my sister.
But we are not saying don't pray. Life is spiritual. I totally agree. But we are not saying don't pray or don't go and see your man.
Do the right thing.
So you do a combination of the two.
He is a prophet.
Yeah.
But he has a doctor
Exactly.
who does routine checkouts for him
Exactly.
every year. It's what they did.
I said, one time I had a herbalist come to the hospital at Rage.
No way.
Yes. He had a fracture.
Yeah.
And, usually fractures, we encourage that we fix them with metals. And a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to the herbalist to go and tie it. Now, the herbalist had a fracture and he came to fix it with a metal. So I'm like, he has advised himself that this is the right thing to do, but you would go to him to go and tie it, and you have complications at the end of the day, right? So it's important that you do a combination of the two. You can go and see your malam, your pastor, whatever you want to do, but still try to do the physical, which is the treatment. Because some people, the unfortunate thing is they'll go and do everything else, and when it doesn't work, then they come back to us. By the time they come back, it's already spread, and now there's very little we can do for them.
Yeah. No, let's talk about the early detection. Did I say early? I just don't enter Nigeria, I beg. How does the early detection, treatment option increase survival rates?
Yes. So once we detect it early, for instance, if I'm using breast cancer a lot, I'm not even sure why. So for instance, if it's breast cancer, if we detect it early, by then it is still confined to the breast, right? So all we have to do is go in there, either take out the cancer, or if we think it is taking over the breast, we take out the entire breast, right? And then we can follow it up with either chemo or radiation therapy. Take care of all the cancer cells that are there. The person goes on with their life like it did not even happen, right? Now, if we don't detect it early, like I'm saying, it would have started spreading. So it will go beyond the breast to other organs and begin to cause problems. So early detection is very, very important. Something like even cervical cancer. If it is detected early, we take out the cervix, you do some chemo or radiation therapy, life goes on. But if it's not seen early, then it begins to spread, and now we have to fight all the cancer cells in every other organ. And sometimes it is impossible. So what we do is we'll call it palliative care, where we are just making sure that the person is as comfortable as they can be, and we are, quote unquote, waiting for them to die, right? So usually we pray that it doesn't get there. So once you come and that diagnosis is given to you, one important thing that I think even with the healthcare people also miss is psychological support. A lot of people, when they hear this diagnosis, it's overwhelming. And sometimes we just throw the diagnosis at them and we expect them to understand it. But I think that if we're able to explain it to them, let them have some psychological support, they should know that it's an important diagnosis, but it is not a death sentence. If you're able to treat it early, you should be able to go back to your normal life.
So we're establishing that the mental health of these patients is key. So far, how do we handle that? Do we give them special psychologists or therapists to handle them, or we just do the general?
Right. So ideally, that's what we are supposed to be doing, right? So usually when it comes to the management of cancer, we say it's a multidisciplinary approach. So the surgeons are in there, the ones in charge of chemo are in there, the mental health professionals should be in there. The unfortunate thing is, now, not every facility in Ghana can even boast of a mental health professional. You can't find a psychologist in every facility. So a patient may come to your facility, there is no psychologist there. You found a cancer. So you would have to now do some form of counseling, which would definitely not be detailed compared to what a psychologist would do. So you just try to encourage the person, make them understand the diagnosis and all that. But ideally, we should get to a point where we have psychologists in all hospitals, such that when these diagnoses are thrown at the patient, we can say that you should go and see the psychologist. Because sometimes even just talking to the psychologist would encourage them to even want to start treatment. Some people, once they hear the diagnosis, they think they're going to die. So they feel like, I don't want to waste my family's money. I'm going to die eventually. What's the point? But sometimes just speaking to someone would make them see that, oh, it's actually not a death sentence. You could do something about it. But we are not at the point where every facility has a mental health professional who can actually do that. So the doctors would have to do some form of counseling, which is not always adequate for the patients, looking at the form of diagnosis that we're actually giving to them. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the symptoms, with regards to, for instance, if we say lung cancer, does it differ in terms of symptoms from what kind of gender, from gender? So from man to woman, because if we say breast cancer now, we're going to say it's more in women. If we say cervical cancer, we would say it's more. If we say
testicular cancer.
Testicular cancer, that cancer, the one that we just talked about. You would say that's
More
in
in
men.
men, yeah.
But the one that applies to both men and women, like a lung cancer, does the symptoms differ from gender?
Not necessarily. The symptoms may be similar. Because if we take something like lung cancer, once your lungs are affected, it means your lung is your breathing system, right? So once your lungs are affected, some people have issues with breathing, and all of us have lungs, male, female. So the symptoms may not necessarily be different. The only thing is that for women, because of the hormonal changes that we have over the month, your symptoms may feel a little exacerbated depending on what time of the month and all that. But generally, for the cancers that apply to both the men and the women, the symptoms are not usually very different. Yeah.
So we've established this morning that cancers, and every time, it's only on Thursdays that I sit like this. Because I promise that I like Thursdays, guys. But the conversations are sometimes overwhelming, and sometimes I just cannot, control myself. But the truth is that we do have a responsibility to do the right thing. We've established this morning that the cancers, some of them you can control, you can regulate by just, doing the right thing in terms of lifestyle changes and all that, and also understanding what it is that your body looks like, which part of your body looks like what, so that when there are changes, you're able to identify it quickly and also, start pursuing medical attention. Finally, what is the one thing you would ask my viewers, your viewers, the ones that followed you into the studio this morning? What action should people take to reduce drastically the risk of cancer in our lives?
Right. I think the one thing I would encourage people to do is screen. Take advantage of screening. For instance, last month we made a lot of noise about cervical cancer, but I know there are still a ton of women who have not gone to screen. Right? We'll make a lot of noise about breast cancer. There'll be a ton of women who will not screen. Even some of the men, they will not screen. So it's important that you take advantage of screening. Because sometimes, like I said, some of the cancers can be silent. Okay, you can be going about your normal life. You think you are fine, right? Until you come to the hospital. Because we are trained to see what you cannot see. So you may think you are okay, but you come, and sometimes just looking at you, a physical examination, we pick up something that you may not even pick up. And we say that, okay, we suspect that this and this could be happening. Then let's investigate it, right? So when those months come and we are making a lot of noise about a particular cancer, this and that, take advantage of it. Some people would say screening is expensive. But in those times, you have a lot of discounted prices and all that. Take advantage of screening. And again, I think that it's important that let's all know what our normal is. And also know what your family history is. Don't be oblivious. Don't say that I'm not bothered. Because once you know that there's this particular disease in my family, then you are on the lookout for it at any point in your life. So that when you notice something, you are not surprised.
Indeed, indeed. Now, and so today we've done the Lord's work. We've given you all the knowledge there is to know about cancer. Right. And also we've made sure that you do not miss any detail. And so please do the right thing by making sure you're getting checked. Also your lifestyle changes. What it is that is a problem in your family, do not go after it. Don't go and be smoking if you know you have lung cancer. Exactly. If you know you have a history of breast cancer in your family, what shouldn't they do?
Make sure proper diet, exercise. You can't risk having obesity.
You can't risk it.
Yes, it just increase your risk.
Your risk in that area. But by the grace of God, you're doing something amazing. Yeah. When I saw it, I was really excited. I was like, oh my God, my women are winning. Now this is it. Not what people are doing on social media. This is it. And when I mean what people are doing on social media, I mean the jabbing each other and just fighting each other as women. I was saying this morning, I wish there was something like, I'm not a woman. Like, I want to remove myself from that gender.
Oh, really?
I'm sorry.
You want to become a man?
No, I don't want to be a man. I don't want to be a man. Look at him. I don't want to be a man. But I definitely don't want to be part of a gender that just comes for each other. Like there's nothing.
Sometimes it doesn't even make any sense.
Like
we should be supporting each other, but then we actually pull ourselves down.
But I always say that what you have to merit the support.
Yeah,
and it's okay if someone is constructive, criticizing you constructively.
Yes, right.
Not being insulting, not being damaging, but just criticizing an action of. And really and truly is. Why do we go after people when there's an action to handle? So if you do something, if you say something, I go and address what you have said, not who you are.
Not who you are, exactly.
Can we just do that? Is it that hard?
I think it's actually hard for people because
that's the problem. But today we're going to celebrate a woman who's been doing. How long have you been on social media doing your advocacy?
I think since 2021.
Yeah.
So about,
great job.
Yeah,
great
5
job.
years.
Great job, great job. And
Yeah.
she's going to tell us what her social media is so that you get to find out and also follow her for health tips.
Yeah.
But you are going to be opening the Aya Medical Supplies and Consults.
Right.
There you go. There you go. What's that?
Thank you.
Big? I like this. I like this. I like this. Tell us all about it. Tell us all
Right.
about
So Aya Medical Supplies and Consults. So, I mean, the name gives it away. So we are looking at a lot of the time. So I like to solve problems. A lot of the time, you would find that people who work in medical supply industries are non-medical people. Most of them have no medical background. And so you would be looking for something medical. You have to call and explain to them over and over before they even know what you are talking about, right? And then unfortunately, those of us in the medical field, for some reason, a lot of us don't like business, right?
Yeah.
So
you're too busy.
we are exactly. Our lives are already too busy, so nobody wants to combine that with business. But I think that we are actually the best people to work in this field because we know what we use in the hospital.
Yeah.
We know what is quality, and we are more focused on our patients. So we know that it can't be expensive. We can't be looking at too much profit. In as much as it's a business, the focus is not just profits, because you see every day in the hospital how patients even struggle to pay bills, struggle to buy medications, right? So ER Medical Supplies is simply to make sure that we are providing quality medical supplies. So anything to disposables that you can think about, to infusions and all that. But we are doing it at a very affordable price so that the hospitals can subsidize things for our patients, the patients can have quality health care at an affordable fee. So that is ER Medical Supplies. Then the consults, I think when I started my social media journey, a lot of people would always say, oh, doc, where can I see you? Where can I meet you? And a lot of people are not very comfortable coming to the hospital, even if you ask them to meet you there. So I thought one time, I said, why don't we have a little space where people can just come and have a conversation and sit with me and let's discuss. So God being so good, there is a US-based company, it's called Mary Global Health. So they have designed a nice telemedicine platform, right, which I've decided to leverage on. So would have the use of the Mary Global Health platform, and then I have my space put together. So you come, we use a telemedicine platform, we have a conversation. The beautiful thing is that we are trying to move away from the old system of writing and all that. Now this system is designed such that even as I'm conversing with the patient, the system develops the notes so I don't have to sit down and type. I can focus on the patient, right? So it makes it better. You're able to listen to the person more, and then it reduces the time that you spend typing or writing, and your data is also protected at the end of the day. So yeah, so that's ER Medical Consults for you.
Yay, ER Medical Consult, of course, medical supply is opening on
just the Saturday, so 2 days.
So 2 days more, there we go. And the venue is Anya NIC Footbridge.
Yes. Okay. So for those, if you are driving, if you ask for the taxi rank, so the footbridge is close to the taxi rank. Once you get to the taxi rank, you would see our signpost.
Okay.
And then for those who want to use public transportation, if you pick a car going to say Ablekuma, tell the mate I'm going to alight at NIC. When you get down at NIC, the shop is on the other side of the bridge, so you just climb the bridge. Once you climb the bridge, you see the signpost, so you know where you are going to. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So if you want to, for RSVP, you can call 054-7978203 or 0544-041-653. Now I'm going to take that again. 0544-041-653. Your social media handles, please.
Yes. So personally, mine is Ia the Medic. Right, yeah, Ia. So the Ia, somebody may be wondering what Ia is. Ia is just my name. Ia is Esther Yesuto Agbuzu, actually. That's just my name. Yes. And then the medical consult is Ia Medical Consult on all social media platforms. The supplies is also Ia Medical Supplies on all social media platforms.
Oh my God, I'm too happy for you.
Thank you.
We'll be there to support you. We're definitely coming to support you.
And it's important. I want people to come because I always say that everybody owns a phone. Everybody wants to own a car. Everybody wants to own a house. How many people own a BP apparatus in their house? How many people have a glucometer for checking their sugar in there? Not even a thermometer. And these things are very affordable that you can keep in your house.
I have a scale.
That's good. That's a good
Check my
start.
weight.
That's a good start. Everybody should own a BP machine.
Yeah.
Once in a while, check your BP. You may not know. You may be hypertensive. You will not know until you check.
Yeah.
You may be diabetic. You don't know until you check. So I encourage that people come around, get some of these things, keep them in your house, so that once in a while you examine yourself. If you see anything, you find anything unusual, then you come to the hospital. Yeah.
Iya, thank you so much for coming. It's
welcome.
always a delight to have a conversation with you. I enjoy you thoroughly. I told my producer the other day that I enjoy you thoroughly because you're a teacher, you're well spoken, you're great at what you do.
Thank
and
you.
I want you all to go and follow her on social media. It's important for us to keep our health in check this year, so make sure to do that. Now, to you out there, like I always say, we're learning and growing together here on the platform, so it's important for us to stay here every single day of the week as we learn and grow together. We'll be right back after this for more conversations about other exciting things coming up on the show. Stay right here with me.